Welcome back, virtual learners. This is another lesson of Too Good for Drugs, 6th grade. So in our last lesson, we discussed healthy and unhealthy risk taking. And we also discussed the unhealthy risk of misusing prescription or over-the-counter drugs. Today, we're going to discuss the risk of using other drugs. Now, I want everybody to open your workbook to page 20 in the section titled Inhalants and Street Drugs. Now, who can tell me what an inhalant is? Inhalant is a chemical or a substance that is inhaled to produce a high. Now, street drugs are made in illegal and sold on the streets. And street drugs include cocaine, heroin, and meth. Now, let's take a moment to review the dangerous effects of these drugs. So for inhalants, we have on page 20, dizzy, drunken appearance, headaches, loss of appetite, rash around the mouth and nose, slurred speech, muscle weakness, and loss of balance and uncoordinated. Now for cocaine, we have insomnia, high level of energy, possible chest pains, violent behavior, loss of appetite, vomiting, excessive sweating, and blurred vision. Now for meth, we have hallucination, loss of appetite, sweating, talkativeness, rotten teeth, picking at the skin, sores on the skin, confusion, and dry mouth. Now for heroin, we have alertness followed by drowsiness, suppression of pain, decreased respiratory rate, clouded mental functioning, poor judgment, and vomiting. Now, I want you to look in the next session titled You Be the Detective. And Detective Mac needs you to help to solve several cases. To help Detective Mac, we will help him conduct interviews with witnesses who encounter someone under the influence of one of the drugs listed on page 20. Now, Detective Mac will use his powers of deduction to figure out which drug the person is using. The rest of the class will be co-detectives. And use the inhalant and street drug information in your workbook to help Detective Mac to solve the case. So let's do the first one. Now, Maria was confused by what just happened. She was walking out of the mall when the girl stumbled past her, acting strangely and needed help. Maria said she was coming out the mall when she saw a girl acting really weird. The detective asked, "Can you describe her behavior?" She said she was walking up to people, asking them for something to drink. She kept pointing at her mouth. Detective said, "Well, did you see her teeth? What did her teeth look like?" Maria said they looked rotten, and she was really thin too. And she was picking at her skin on her arms. And the detective said, "Did she have scratches on or and sores on her arms?" Maria said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, she did. She was running around saying crazy things like she was seeing flying elephants. And she couldn't stop talking." The detective said, "I think I know what drug is affecting her behavior. So what drug do you think the girl Maria is talking about?" And that drug is meth, due to the dry mouth, loss of appetite, rotten teeth, and picking at the skin, and sores on the skin, and hallucinations. Now, let's hear the next case. Now, Carlos was at the gym with his friend Michael. Recently, he's had noticed some changes in Michael's attitude. Michael doesn't look healthy and fit as he did, like he always been. Today, Michael appeared drunk and had slurred speech. Concerned about his friend, Carlos called Detective Matt. And as Detective Matt arrived, Carlos said, "Detective, it's my friend Michael. There's something wrong with him. He's been showing up to the gym kind of days, and he seems drunk and he has slurred speech." And the detective asked, "Is he drinking alcohol?" Carlos said, "No, but his breath smells really weird, and I noticed a rash around his mouth and nose." The detective said, "What about his workouts? Has he been doing the same workouts and activities before?" Carlos said, "Well, he used to rock climb the wall together, but he has a hard time keeping up with me. He's really uncoordinated and couldn't pull himself up the rocks." And the detective said, "Does he ever complain of headaches?" And Carlos said, "Yes." And Detective Bass says, "I think I know what's wrong with your friend." So what do you think is wrong with Carlos's friend? Well, the effects he experienced is effects from inhalants due to dizzy, drunken appearance, slurred speech, rash around the mouth and nose, and loss of balance and coordination and muscle weakness. Now, let's do the next case. Now, Luke noticed that one of his soccer teammates, Ronnie, has been himself lately. He's been acting really odd and didn't seem focused on playing soccer. Rumors spread that Ronnie was having problems that might involve drugs. At practice day, Ronnie passed out. So Luke called Detective Mack. Now, Detective Mack said, Detective Mack, of your service, what seems to be the problem? Luke said, well, it's my friend Ronnie. I think he's doing some type of drug. And Luke said, this guy is crazy about soccer, but he doesn't show up for the games or in practice like he used to. Luke also said, I know that when he does show up, he seems hyper and really ready to play. Then he walks to the field and is all drowsy and tired. And Luke also said, right in the middle of the game when the other team was about to score, he stopped and picked up the ball and threw it out of bounds. It's soccer. You don't touch the ball with your hands. And he received the red card. It was thrown out the game, and he didn't even care. And he vomited on the sidelines. And the detective said, I think I know what's wrong with your friend. So Ronnie is using the drug heroin. And that is from the experience of alertness followed by drowsiness, clouded mental functioning, poor judgment, and vomiting. Okay, so let's look at the last case. And Gabby, who was concerned for her brother, recently said that he'd been staying up all night and acting strangely. Last night he was complaining about chest pain, so Gabby decided to call 911. And Gabby said that his brother's been acting really strangely. He never sleeps, and he comes in the room in the middle of the night and wakes her up to show how organized his sock drawer is. And also, he, when confronting him about his weird behavior, he is getting very angry and acting very violently. And he also talks about possible chest pains. So what drug do you think Gabby's brother is on? So the answer to that is cocaine. So next week, we are going to do a Prevention 500 game where we're going to review all the things we learned in Too Good for Drugs.